journalist. He gets involved with a lot of topical and relevant issues.
I think he's incredibly brave. He always seems to be off in war zones.
He's always been honest, he has integrity.
I love his war zone reporting. He always seems to be right there on the front line.
I think the prerequisite for a good reporter would be to have an inquiring mind, not just to accept things on face value, to actually dig a little deeper and ask why. Yeah, I guess if you'd asked me when I was sort of 11 or 12 years old if I'd ever read the news, I would have laughed at you. I had quite a bad stammer actually as a kid, and I think that part of that was because of this desire to tell my story first and race home and tell mum and dad what had happened and that kind of thing, and I had a real issue in getting the words out. Oh, there have been lots of people along the way in radio and in television who I've learnt from, lots of people who have been an influence, but I guess the best thing you can do as a journalist is try and find your own path.
I really enjoy working with Mike, and you've got to remember that both on this desk and our desk upstairs, we're sitting next to each other for a lot of time during the day. I would spend more time spending time with Mike than I do my own family Monday to Friday. I think he's a great role model for reporters because, again, of the way he tells stories. He tells them simply, with great compassion and humanity.
I've always been a human being first and a journalist second, and so when opportunities have arisen in the past where I could step in and help someone, I've done that. There was an instance with a little girl in Haiti who was 5 years old, and she had a gaping wound in her leg and also a very, very badly broken arm, and she needed to have hospital attention that day, or she probably would have lost a leg, if not died. So I took it. I carried her and took her to the hospital. And probably because of my presence and the fact that I had a cameraman with me, she got seen very quickly. I've got no issue with that. I'd do it again. I probably wouldn't make a story out of it, but I'd do it again if that opportunity came along. You can't really do the job without putting yourself in harm's way. Gaza just recently, Iraq was terrible during when it covered the historic elections in 2005. 2 years after the war, and it was a shocking time. They were kidnapping journalists and holding them for ransom and that kind of thing. And it was the first time, and probably the only time, that we've had security. So we had a couple of Iraqi armed guards in the front of the car, and we'd just lie down in the back. But every time you pulled up to a stop sign or a roundabout, you'd hear them cocking their weapons. So you had this sort of stuff going on in the front seat, and for a New Zealander, that sort of stuff is just crazy. A few people that I've known over the years have been killed in covering stories, and it's a real dilemma. You're always thinking about it. I mean, I've got a wife and family, and some people say to me, well, you've got kids, what on earth are you doing in a war zone? But I actually think it makes you a better reporter. I sat in a hospital in Gaza last week and sat with some children who'd been wounded, and that relationship as a father, that comes through in your reporting. It gives you soul and heart, and it really, I think it makes that story more accessible to the people at home. You've been well recognised as certainly has its advantages and disadvantages. It makes usual tasks like shopping at the grocery store twice as long. But it comes with the territory, it's fine.
I think his greatest contribution has just been his body of work, really, since he's worked in television, because he started off in radio. But I think that for years now he has been going to some really important places and reporting back international events with a Kiwi perspective. So I think that's probably the most valuable contribution he's made.
You don't really know your own boundaries until you've pushed them. And that's kind of how I've lived life. I like to push boundaries. But if I'm going to be remembered, I guess the thing that I'd love to be remembered as is a good storyteller.